Hello friends, welcome back. My name is Noelle and today we are going to be pattern testing the Aidah gown. So I was invited by Janome of Scroop Patterns and Amber of Virgil's Fine Goods, who are in combination making this pattern today, to test this beautiful Italian gown called the Aidah gown. This is a kind of 5-week long process, so we're going to have a couple videos that are going to include doing the toile for this, which is this video, and then we're going to do the final dress probably in another video or two. I have printed out this pattern. I have also already taken it down to my local Staples or any Office Depot or Office Goods store that you have near you and gotten it bound. This is called a comb binding. You can also get it spiral bound. I do that just so it all stays together, but you can lay it flat, which I really like. I also printed out this pattern. Should I have sent this to Staples also and have them print it in 3 gigantic sheets for me so that I don't have to tape this all together? Yes, I should have. Did I do that? No. So you guys are gonna get a tape montage in just a minute. But first, I want to talk to you guys about how I have massively overcommitted myself for the next 3 months and I don't know how I'm gonna get all this stuff done. So let's go over what needs to be done and what is going to happen here. Okay, my current projects list has been updated. I need to finish this Williamsburg jacket. I have literally been working on this jacket since July of last year. The video may be chaos when that goes up, but it will go up hopefully soon. There will be a photo shoot involved with this Williamsburg jacket at some point soon. I just don't know when, so I'm kind of taking my sweet time. I really shouldn't be doing that. The Aidah gown toile needs to be done by January 21st so that I can send pictures of that in. I also have a bonnet test that I'm going to do for another company, and that has to be done by February 17th. That's a short project, so that should be like kind of okay. The Aidah gown final needs to be done by February 16th, and photos for that need to be done by February 21st. In addition to all that, I'm going to a ball in Chicago on March 25th. I am attempting to make a new Pretty House Made corset, so I need to do a toile and a final corset of that and do a fitting in between. I of course need a ball gown, so I'm going to need a ball gown bodice, a skirt, and an overskirt for that. Possibly other undergarments. I don't even know yet what needs to happen. I don't know how all this can happen. I also need to find a job, and I might lose, 8 to 10 hours of my day plus napping. So this is gonna be a panic and flex sort of situation for the next few months. I hope you guys are in for the ride. On top of all that, I have like weekends packed and I don't know how that's happened. But like this weekend, I'm going to Oregon to go to my friend Gigi's Pelican Elevation. That's a really hard thing to say. I keep trying to say pelicanization, which is what I've just been calling it. I'm going to her pelicanization this weekend, and that's 3 days that are just gone from the 10 days that I have to do the toile for this dress. So that is a party. Let's look at the task list that I have right now. Okay, printing the pattern, donezo. I need to cut out the pattern, so I need to like tape it together and cut it out. Then I need to read the instructions, and then I need to cut out the pre-toile fabric. What is a pre-toile? We'll talk about that in just a second. I have to make my pre-toile and cut out the actual toile fabric. This isn't even the final dress, guys. Okay, so here's my plan. I'm gonna use muslin, and I'm just gonna cut out the bodice portion of this and just quick sew it together on my machine to see if this thing fits. Because the last thing I want to do is cut this out in my toile fabric and have it not fit. So I would like to do my fit adjustments in a pre-toile, which I'm making 3 of. I'm making 2 full dresses and 1 bodice. I don't know. Anyway, I just want to make sure that it can fit on me and that it fits according to the size chart that they've given us with this test pattern. Because remember, this is a test pattern. I am also exactly one of the sizes, so that should make it okay and everything should be fine, but I just want to check. So before I leave on Friday, it is now Wednesday night, I want to do all the things that are on that list. So I don't know if I will get them all done, probably not. I probably won't get the toile cut out. The pre-toile though, I'm hoping to get done like tomorrow. I'm going to try to get the pattern taped together and cut out, and I'm hoping to get the pattern instructions read tonight so that I'm ready to go and do some sewing tomorrow. So I do not tape individual sheets of paper together. I go ahead and lay them out and then cut out the pattern pieces and then tape the pattern pieces together. I've had it where, because it's like 8 deep and 6 wide, the slightest little angle in your paper makes the biggest situation happen way down at the bottom of the giant paper. It takes longer for me. I don't know why it works that way, but for me, I don't line up everything until it's cut into pieces. But you have to do it really carefully to make sure that all your pieces stay with each other so that you know what should be where. When you get all of these papers to cut out, you also get like a layout document that tells you what it should look like when it's laid out, so you can see the pattern pieces and what part of the pattern piece goes on what piece of paper, which can help you if you get into a jam. This is how I do it. Okay, it is many hours later and I am done. I'm not going to say that this tactic that I have of cutting the pieces out and then taping those together is like faster, but I do think it's more precise. I think it actually takes the same amount of time, like honestly, like because I'm still trying to be precise even if I'm not doing it that way, so it's gonna take, I take forever for everything. So like I don't think it's actually any faster, but it's more precise and use a lot less tape. So I am done cutting out 1 million pieces. I have one piece that I had to ask a question about because I can't find my size on the piece, and I'm like, is this not sized all the way up? So we're checking on that. And then the other thing was, you may have seen in the time lapse, I got like super confused at one point. It was the skirt pieces have their own system, like they're in groups, not the same lines that you cut for all the other pieces. So I screwed that up because I did not look at that ahead of time, which is my own fault and super dumb. So just a warning, the skirt pieces are not cut on the same lines, and the lines, there is kind of the same lines, but not all of them, so it was very confusing to me. But I understand what I did wrong, so I had to print out new pieces of them and then remake. And these pieces are super long. You probably can't see, but the ones on the top are like double wrapped. They are the entire 8 pieces of paper that are all taped together. So anyway, everything's done except this one piece that I'm waiting on, which I'll get an answer for tomorrow, I'm sure. So I am gonna go to bed because it's super late. It's time for me to go to bed. And tomorrow we will try to cut the pre-toile fabric and maybe make the pre-toile, like I just want to make the bodice. Okay, yesterday I was interested in these pieces and why they didn't fit me. It's because there are 2 of them, because otherwise the lines get hard to read, so they've just made 2. So yes, this piece is not sized to my size, because there's another one that is. This is me being dumb. Yeah. Okay, so I've also measured this situation, which I am making the back of B, which is, hi, this situation, so it just has one more seam than the back of A, but I'm making the front of A because I like this point and not these tabs. So I measured the waistline, which is this line right here and here and here, and I subtracted out seam allowance, and I do in fact get my waist measurement, which is great. Here's one additional thing. Whoa, I did that. Okay, I'm on to this one. This guy is actually going to happen this weekend. I'm bringing my instructions with me to read thoroughly while I'm there, because I will go to sleep way after everybody else. Alright, so here we are with it on. I do not have a sleeve on yet. I am thinking about doing that today. This is hard to see probably because this is like muslin fabric on white stays, but here we are. It fits really good as far as like the crossover is like that much. So there's plenty of space in there for the fold and hooks and eyes if I want, or leaving it a little bit wider so that I can pin it. So this seems all good here. The straps actually seem to fit pretty well. Obviously this neckline will get sort of like ooched down a little bit so that it's more in line with the top of my stays. We'll see. And then the only thing I think probably needs to get fixed is right here on the side. So this has a 5/8 inch seam allowance, and it should hit me with the seam allowance tucked under, probably about here, because it does need to come down to like where my skirt starts. So that means I need to add like probably 1.25 inches to the bottom of this to add like enough, because if I pull this up, like it's way up. So I think I need to lengthen that, and I need to lengthen it from the back all the way around the side, and then kind of like, I don't know if I need to lengthen this too, maybe a little bit. I mean, clearly I have plenty of space here to lengthen it, so maybe I will do that. Yeah, so I do think that needs a little bit of a pattern adjustment before I go forward, but I think that's it. Let me look at the back with you guys. Okay, the back actually fits really good. The arm side looks pretty good. It does look like it's gonna do the same thing that all arm sides do on me, which is like come way in right there, but it's covering more than my stays are, so that's actually good. Good news. The strap doesn't appear to be doing too much gaping, which is nice. Could be wider. I do appreciate a wider than this strap, so I might be either reducing the amount of seam allowance I have, because I mean 5/8 is really generous, or you know, cutting it just a little bit wider in the final, but they don't appear to gape too much. Like the side view is pretty good, and this side view right here is usually really gapey at the beginning. So the fact that it's not gapey, I mean, when you move, obviously you make gapes, right? So you kind of just have to like hang your arm straight and like go, oh, okay, normally that's super gapey. And I like literally just sewed this in at 5/8 to see what would happen. The front section here also looks like it has good coverage. Frequently that's not enough material right there for me, so that's great. All right, so that's good news. Things are coming along. I am just gonna stay in this, and I'm gonna put a sleeve together just to make sure it's good. It looks like it might be big. Like, is that possible? I don't know. I'm gonna try it and see what it feels like on. I'm not gonna necessarily set it into this garment here. I just want to see how the fit of it is and give it a little bit of a judgment call. Okay, can I show you this without like, you know, it being a giant nightmare? It fits pretty good. I'm like fine with it. It has enough space for my arm, which I'm fine with. I can hold it in there and it works just well, right? I feel like I have the right amount of like room. So I guess the next answer would be like I probably should sew it on and just make sure. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that and then call it quits for this mock-up. Okay, I got this on. It fits pretty well. I did some weird jiggy back there where I caught something by accident. Like there are pleats back there, but they are hooked for some reason. But it does fit really well. I have good range of motion. Like I can touch the sky, I can touch my toes. So like, I feel like this is probably fine. I need to deal with this wrinkle. I think it has to do with how I set it in. I'm not worried about that because I will not be doing that with a machine when time comes to actually set it in. I'm more looking for like, is it big enough? And the answer is away. It is big enough. So I'm gonna move along with my life. Cool. Okay, I have consulted with Constance. We both agree I need about 1.5 inches added to that hip curve. So I'm gonna add that. You gotta like taper it in and taper it back out. So I have to figure that out. And then I'm gonna add 1.5 inches to the bottom front too, because I have plenty of space for that. But also you want that curve to be pretty extreme, and you can't add to the hip curve without making that less extreme. So I gotta figure out what that curve is gonna look like. I'm just gonna practice on paper, like probably when I get back. I am headed off to Oregon for Gigi's elevation at this point, so I'll see you guys on Monday, which is 3 days from now. Hello and welcome back. I am back from my SCA event that I went to this weekend with Gigi. She was elevated, it was beautiful. I am currently printing out a new sleeve pattern for just like the bottom part of the sleeve because the notches were not lining up correctly, I guess, and so they sent us a new one. So I'm printing that out before I cut my toile fabric, which is a great timing situation. Let me show you the board and what we've got going. I did read my instructions, so that's good. I need to go ahead and make my pattern adjustments. I need to cut the fabric bodice, I need to cut the fabric skirts, I need to sew the toile, and I need to photograph the toile. And I have to do all this by Thursday. Cool. The great thing about this situation is that I can do this one on the machine. I think I have a plan about how I'm going to do that on the machine, so I feel pretty good. There's probably still going to be some level of hand sewing because, like, I can't imagine some parts of this how you would do it without hand sewing, but yikes to that. So yeah, we'll see how this goes. I'm going to get as much of it as I possibly can get done. The first thing I'm going to do is tape together that new sleeve bottom. I think it's just one part of the sleeves actually that is getting sent over. So I'm gonna go ahead and tape that together, and then I'm gonna go ahead and make my pattern adjustments, and I will show you how I do that. Okay, here is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna add 1.5 inches to the hip curve. I'm gonna add 1.5 inches to the front point. I haven't pondered the back point yet, and I don't think I need to because it's not actually part of the thing that I'm gonna change, but we'll see. And we're gonna widen the strap by 1/2 inch. Should be no problem. Okay. I have the pieces that I want to work with here. I have some dot grid paper. You can use whatever kind of paper you want. You can even use, if you have scraps of this that you feel like taping together, go for it. I am tired of taping pieces of paper together, so I'm just gonna use that because I have it. You can use craft paper, you can use newspaper, you can use anything you want. You need some tape and obviously a ruler. It's super simple. I just put some of that paper behind the thing I'm going to change, and then I tape it together and draw the line that I want, and then I cut it. Pattern weights are super helpful in this situation also because you want to keep this rolly thing from doing its thing, so I like to go ahead and do that. I am going to, this is going around my side, and it comes up over my hip right about here, and then ends up pointing down there. I know I want 1.5 inches there. This is convenient because this is 1 inch, so that's easy to tell how far I need it above, but that's as far as I put it in. I'm leaving some extra on the side to add to that, so I have a little scrap for that. And then I'll just cut this off here so I don't waste the paper, and it'll only get cut up to about here, right? Because then I'm just going to tape it on the back. So I'm going to go ahead and draw in the line that I want. I am trying to think about how I want this line to go in, and if that means I'm going to have to adjust other pattern pieces too. Like, do I want to start it right here and then, you know, bring this down? I don't actually want to make this much wider, so I have to figure out a way to taper that off and then bring it down. So I just need to play with this for a few minutes. Okay, these are the back pieces. This is the back piece, this is the side back. I do think I'm gonna end up having to add a little bit to this part right here just to grade that in to 1.5 inches. And then grade it back out and then bring it down. This is just fine, so I don't think I need this piece, so I'm not going to worry about it. I am going to go ahead and put a pattern weight here so it stays, so that I can just start sketching a line in. Okay, here are my new shapes. This one is like a lower curve for sure, but adding to the bottom of this helps that. I am not freaked out by this. I don't have hips, like they don't jut out a lot, so this sort of makes sense for my body. But we'll see what it's like when the toile comes out. I can always make adjustments then. I'm going to adjust the strap just a little bit. Adding a ½ inch to it should not be a big deal. I don't actually think you necessarily need to do this. I just like a wider strap. I like it to be a little bit wider, so I'm just going to do that for my own personal taste. That has nothing to do with this pattern. None of this has to do with this pattern. This has to do with my body. Okay, we've done this, and we've done this. I'm waiting for the toile lining to come out of the wash, so I guess I'm gonna look at the skirt section and see what there is to see about cutting it. I'm looking at the skirt. I am not necessarily getting this particular piece of information from the book, so I have to admit that I am making assumptions here based on the words that are on these two pattern pieces. That is the top of the skirt, and this is the bottom of the skirt, and you can see where the straight line would be if I was going to have a flush back and if you're going to have a slight train. So I'm going to attempt a slight train, but I need to look and see how much fabric I have first. So this is obviously half of it, because this is the center back and that is the front point. So you need to be able to get twice this amount of fabric between it. I have directional fabric, so that makes this even more of a pain in the butt. And basically you cut as many panels as you need to make this happen. The instructions on the pattern pieces have like vaguely confusing information, because like I'm a skirt E size and it's saying skirt E in 54 inches, but I don't have 54 inches. I have like 42 inches. So that line means nothing to me. So what I'm actually going to do is try to cut the panels in a way that I get this much or similar width of skirt. So that is what I'm going to attempt to do. We'll see if that works out. Okay, so you can see I've put out this bottom pattern piece, right? It's under there. And then I've measured from here to where it meets the next one, which is 30 inches. So I can see how long each section is going to be ish. And I have measured from here to the end, and that's actually 58 inches. So that's more panels. So it's one plus some more. I could probably get away with just one, but I'm going to try to see if I can make it. But I need to make sure I have enough fabric. So essentially I'm going to fold this fabric over and make sure I can get back to this location and then see how much more I have. I do not have enough. Fun times. I am going to be 14 inches short of the pattern piece in width for the skirts. I think that's okay. Like, I'm not that fussed about it. It means I'll have some less pleats. And they do say you should have 3 panels. I have 3 panels. I'm sure they would have loved it if I had 3 panels of 56 inches. I do not. I have 3 panels of 44 inches. Maybe. Like, I don't even think it's 44. Anyway, I'm going to be short. My skirts will not be as full, and I think that's fine. My pleats just won't be so deep. It's okay. It's going to be cool. Don't worry about it. I'm almost done ironing the fashion fabric. I have already ironed the lining fabric. Then I will cut out the lining pieces for the bodice, and then I will cut out the skirt pieces as I have them, because that's what I can do. So hope this all works out just fine. I'm sure it'll be fine. Okay, I feel like this is less of a pro tip and more of like a coping mechanism, but I just keep forgetting to go ahead and mark out my notches. So I've been putting them on the fabric where I need to do a notch out. Alrighty, we are done with that, so that's good. Now all we need to do is sew it together and photograph it. Should be cake, right? Right? Sigh. Okay, I think this is going to be a little bit of thread switching for a few minutes. I'm going to put together the bodice now and the bodice lining now. So I'm going to do that on machine, which is not the way I will do the final gown, but this is a toile, so this is what's happening. Okay, so I have the backs done, both of them, and they're pinned together. This one does have boning channels sewn into it. I don't know if that's strictly visible or not, but can I make it visible? Maybe. So I'm going to attach the front to the backs using, I think, what's called the sandwich method. I'm not sure. I use it a lot in corsetry. So I'm going to tuck under the curved edge here of both the fashion fabric and the lining, which is up there. And then I'm going to put them down with the seam allowance tucked under like that right on top of this, so kind of right sides together. And I'm going to do that again on the outside, so it's going to be 6 layers thick at this point. And then I'm just going to top stitch it together. Some corsets go together this way throughout the whole entire corset. So anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and do that. I might end my day right now because it is Tuesday and it's pretty late, and I don't know if I really have it in me to do this right now, but I might at least do the folding under and ironing, so we'll see. Okay, I am talking to Gigi. Say hi, Gigi. Hi. We are just working near each other at this point, like I am folding under that seam allowance that I told you about, and then also the other 2 seam allowances are this one here and then this one here, to go ahead and attach this piece to that back piece. I think also what I'm going to do is run a basting stitch along this line here just to hold this down and keep it good. Okay, I have basting all the way around and I have all of these guys pressed, so I'm going to make a sandwich now and I'll show you what that looks like. Okay, I have these 2 sandwiched together so that the wrong sides are together for once. And you can see that it's tucked under here and tucked under here, so that's all great. I might give this a little press just to make sure everything is nice and smooth. And then I'm going to pin like along here just to keep it where it needs to be for right now. And then all I'm going to do is slip this guy into here up to the seam allowance and then top stitch it. Okay, it's not stitched yet, it's just pinned, but you can see it. And you're probably like, Noelle, this is sticking out and this is sticking out, so you could just move it down. No, I matched the notches. This gets lost in seam allowance, so that's the 5/8 there. And then this is tucked under 5/8 and this is not. And that is why that is like that, because the skirts come up over this and then they disappear into it. And you can see that here on the instructions and like here. So that is a known situation. You can kind of see that point there also. So this is the way it is supposed to be. So I'm just going to go ahead and switch out to brown and then top stitch this guy. The top stitching looks good here, but I will say it didn't catch all of it on the back side. So they just weren't like perfectly aligned for that. So I will go through and like catch stitch this all by hand. Okay, so tiny stitches have been placed onto here and here. I need to go ahead and put straps on and fit the front straps and also this. This is a little bit wild, so I'm going to cut this down a little bit because it should be where the brown is. How's this guy? Maybe it should be where the white is. I don't know. Have to measure that. It's probably somewhere in between, knowing me. So I'm gonna trim this down just a little bit and then go ahead and try this on and just make sure this curve hits the right spot and the straps are good and all that kind of stuff. Okay, so this is kind of like a reversed sandwich. So you put right sides together for this side of the strap, and then you put right sides together for this side of the strap, and then you sew here, and then it's all sandwiched in. Hopefully that makes sense. You do these on stays also sometimes. Okay, then you pull them both up, and it hides all that stuff in there. So this is the back strap. You will then like sew along the edge of this. Hopefully that makes sense. Okay, so I feel like we're doing good. Actually, where this strap is pretty fine on the front. It needs to change on the back, and I'll show you that in just a second. I am super glad that I changed this curve because this is like, I mean, it could have been about here, like just like a half an inch less probably to be at my exact waist, but like as you can see, like I'm tucking my skirts in still and it's supposed to hit, you know, right at that same spot, so I feel good about that. I do have a false rump on, so you can see it sticking out there. My booty ain't that big. But yeah, for the most part this all looks good. I would really like to take this neckline down like a lot, so I'm just gonna go ahead and like pin that down while I'm in this, so that when I stitch it together I can just stitch it closed, essentially. Let's talk about, I am glad I widened the straps a bit too, that's helpful. Okay, here's the back with my funny rump. It's not really like showing you that much, but like it like sticks between the cheeks, which I find very funny. There is boning back here, so that's, you know, a reason for that. The back fits really well, except this thing is happening on the sides again, which you can see right there, which is it's lifting up just slightly. Is that a better angle? Yeah, you can kind of see it. It happens on everything I do. I just think people allow for more space right there than I need, particularly everything I have to change there. So I will probably take these straps off and realign them a little bit so that they don't do that. Otherwise, I'm feeling good about this, and I'm gonna probably start locking this stuff down. Okay, so that's much better. The great thing about doing it this way is I don't actually have to rip it out. I can just sort of like push it down a little bit and then pin it and then top stitch it. So that's what the back will look like once it's done, which is great. Okay, I have this tucked down and pinned in properly, so I feel good about that. The straps have been pinned on, so I think I'm just gonna hand stitch these because I think it's actually possibly gonna be easier. Back of the straps looks good, so I think I've handled all the things. So I only have like tonight and then tomorrow to do this rest of this, so I'm gonna keep working on this and try and get the bodice part done as much as possible today. I have to pleat the skirt still and attach it. I have to sew the skirt together, and I also have to do the sleeves, which I never even thought about. So I got quite a bit more to go. I'm down a day because I have to go to a funeral on Friday, and that's a bummer. So we'll see if we can get this done. I am not too bright. I just realized something that takes my stress level way down. I read the instructions that we got via email for like the 473rd time just now, and I noticed a word that I have never seen there before, which is bodice. I only need to make a bodice toile by the end of this week. I was expecting to have to do the entire, like an entire gown, toile gown, by the end of this week. So I'm already done, which is fantastic, and it takes my stress level from, oh dear God, to, okay, we can handle this, which is great. We had 10 days to do it, and I was always like, God, that's like not a lot of time, especially if you have weekend plans and stuff. You know what? It's not. And you know what? They didn't only give us that amount of time, so that's apparently not an issue. We only needed to make a bodice mock-up, which I actually already did. You guys saw me do the pre-12-12. I can answer all the questions that I need to answer based on that pre-12-12. I also, last night, finished all the things I needed to do on this bodice so far. Like, I did all the finishing work. I can show you. Okay, so what happened last night? I sewed probably from like, oh, I can just show you from here all the way across. Got this all stitched in, nice and pretty. I got the straps officially sewn in and sewn down on the edges and sewn across the front on both sides. I also took out the basting stitches and stitched down the back, so that's good. I do want to remove these bones and actually just like nib off the ends because they're very sharp and like file them down a little bit more so that I feel like they're going to poke out at some point and I don't love it. So I'm going to do that today. But basically, I did the thing I needed to do already. This entire time I thought I had to make a whole dress by basically tomorrow. Unfortunately, I have to go to a funeral tomorrow that was, of course, unexpected. My great uncle passed away last week, and they set the service for this Friday at 11 a.m., 2.5 hours from my house, so rad. So I have to A, get up early, which you all know that that's not my jam, and then B, show up and do funeral stuff all day. So I won't have my last day that I was supposed to have, but it's fine because I'm already done, so this is great. Fantastic. I'm happy about that. I do still want to finish this dress, and I do still want to make the one in silk because I want to make it for the ball that I'm going to go to in October. It does allow me to not have to make the dress for the ball in October right now, because I could 100% use this dress as my final gown for this trial. Like, that's fine. So, excellent. So that's what's going to happen is I'll probably just switch around what I'm going to do. I'm still probably going to try to get it done all by the same time. I added in another pattern test, so now I have 3. And that one is a lot looser of a date. They're a pair of stays for Clockwork Fairy. So you'll see that eventually too. It's probably at least a couple months out though before I'll start that. Okay, so I also want to finish that Williamsburg jacket, and this will give me a little time to do that. So I'm still hoping to get this done. I'm going to work a lot on it today, and then as much as I possibly can, and then I have a few things going on this weekend that will make it harder for me to sew a lot, but maybe I'll get it done this weekend. That would be fantastic because I would like to get this video out as well. What did I say about not doing whole project videos and doing weekly vlogs instead? Why am I not able to do that? It's just like dumb. Anyway, so it loosens up everything a little bit for me also to be able to get the ball gown done for the Chicago ball, which is good and makes me feel better about the whole situation. So yay. I need to make a corset and a ball gown for that. I haven't really totally decided on what year I'm making either. I need to get on that. I need to like let that percolate in my brain and get it done. The problem is, do I have ball gowns on my wall? No, I have a lot of walking gowns on my wall, a lot of visiting gowns, so I can't even use my wall for inspiration, but I'll probably go through my books and try to look for something that looks good as far as ball gown goes and see how I can make that happen. So I have updated my to-do list accordingly, and we can go check that out. Okay, we've done this. I'm gonna work on sewing the skirt next. I've obviously attached up a couple things. My butt, not my own butt, but my fake butt is weird. It's too big, it's too fluffy, it's too like pointy on the sides. I think I might try to like quilt it down a little bit to make it a little bit smaller, but also a little bit more tapered on the sides. We shall see. Okay, when I cut these, I was smart enough and to do myself Future Noel a solid, so thanks past Noel, and put pins at the top of each panel piece. The one with the crease in it ironed in is the center back, so I know that this is the center piece, and these are the 2 pieces that get attached to it. So I'm going to go ahead and attach these 2 together, 3 together, and then also fake some felling seams. They also advise you to actually fake other seams in it because in a period the panels are only 20 inches wide, so it would take way more panels to go on a skirt. It's an optional thing. It's not something I'm interested in right now, but it's a cool idea. Alrighty, if you've done your cutting correctly, your pieces will all face the same direction. Thank goodness, mine do. and your side seams will be the same length because you're cutting along the pattern but marking where you snapped. Ugh, nightmare. Anyway, so mine line up, so that's great. They tell you to make your seams as small as possible. Unfortunately, I have a selvage edge, which sucks because it means I'm going to either lose some in some parts of it, like one of these selvages might end up on the side somewhere. It will for sure, so I have to cut that off, so I just lose a little bit. A little trick for that though is to offset your pinning. So instead of pinning it like edge to edge, I'm going to bring it down a little bit, and then I'm going to sew on the selvage line so that this can be used as the felling part, but I lose like less of the brown. Hopefully that makes sense. I'll show it to you once it's sewn, and it'll probably make a lot more sense. Alrighty, I have offset this by 1/4 of an inch. Right there you can see the under one and the over one. And then I will be sewing along this line, and then I will be trimming it down just a little bit and using this to fell over, and then sewing that down as a faux fell seam. So hopefully this white part of the selvage edge will just vanish, and I will somehow gain an extra 1/4 inch, which, as we know, makes a huge difference. It's honestly going to be 1/4, and then 1/4 and 1/4, so 3/4 of an inch will get saved by this. But you know, I'm already like, I don't know, 20 something inches short on this, so we're gonna call that good. And we have a faux felled seam going on here that is not peeping out any white, which is great, and it's secured down. I'm going to go ahead and do the third panel, and then I'm going to go ahead and do the edges with the smallest hem that I can get out of this, which I am tempted to use my hem foot, but I think it's actually like too small. Okay, this wad is now completely joined together and the side seams are done. I am waiting to do the hem until the end because I think I am gonna probably cut off the train. I'm not sure. I don't know. Because it wasn't actually as wide as it needs to be, I'm not sure if the train's gonna work out. Hey, I'm thinking I don't want to trip over stuff anyway, so we'll see. Donezo. Alright, we are going to start working on the skirt there, but we are first ironing and basting this guy up so that it's out of the way. This is left mostly unfinished in all accent garments that they noticed, but for me, I did run some zigzag stitches along the edge because I'm me. Some parts of this process now get a little sloppier than I like, so we'll see what happens. There might be some zigzagging that goes down. Anyway, I'm about to pleat the heck out of that. I gotta figure out how long of a point I need. I think it is marked on the pattern, but they also have a way of measuring it, so I think I might just mark it. We'll see. Okay, we have a one side done. So until the back side seam, they are 1/4 inch, and then they go to about 1/2 inch for the rest of the way. But I have they wanted it at 14 inches, but I think because I extended everything down something else, I don't know, I moved it to 15. It just feels better on my body when it's at 15, so I'm gonna assume that that is fine. So this is exactly 15. It's exactly what I wanted it to be, so that's exciting. Now my job is to match this on the other side. Good luck. Good luck to me. Okay, so I have realized that I have made some mistakes, and they were based on my own quick reading and not paying attention. I need to fold up the point of this guy and sew it down because I didn't, and you can't have this just like flopping around. Also, I didn't seal this because I thought it said leave it open, but I was wrong and conflated two different parts. So this needs to get stitched down by hand. I also they talk about basting these pleats down, and I want to go ahead and do that on this side before I start this side, just so they're down and good and everything's cool. So I think I'm going to do that because that will make me feel better about the security of that side and also give me all these pins back. So I think I'm going to go ahead and do that, which is going to take a while, which is a bummer, but here we are. Okay, so it's many hours later and I am back and I have done all the things I said I'd do. I did the handwork around the edge. I pinned up that little nubbin on the bottom. And I have put in some major basting. I can't really explain this level of basting other than to say I just wanted it to be basted well. I think I got a little hyper focused on this is what happened. Anyway, I still need to pleat the other half, so I'm gonna go ahead and do that now and get that all done. My goal for today is to get this skirt prepared to be stuck on that dress. And if I can get that far, I will be excited, which all that means I have to do is pleat this other side and then baste it down also. So I imagine that's a couple hours of work. I do want to try and match it to this side as much as possible, although it is not historically necessary to do that. Frequently you find them not matching at all. So anyway, I know vaguely what I need to do, so I'm just going to carry on now. Okay, we are feature complete. I do not know what made me think that that was going to take less than all day, but indeed it did. What is up with my hair? Anyway, it's like 3 o'clock in the morning, so I'm gonna go ahead and go to bed and call this one good for today. It's nice and pressed. I might run it through the zigzag tomorrow just to like clean up that top edge, because it's something that probably you leave the whole top edge in there, even though it's definitely gonna be cut and curved in. Use it to like add some oomph to it. So I think I'm gonna want that to be, you know, not shedding all over the place. So I'm gonna zigzag the whole thing. And then go ahead and attach it to the bodice. This is taking much longer than I expected. Yay! How common is that for me? Anyway, we are plugging along though, so hopefully we'll get that attached tomorrow, and if it's good, maybe we trim the hem and hem it, and then after that we have sleeves and we're done. So I gotta fix my butt a little bit too, because my butt's a little excitable. Okay, so this is all done. The instructions are telling me to lay the bodice part face up on top of this, so at least a half an inch is below it at all times, and then baste it. So that is what I'm gonna do. Okay, the center point is at the center back. It says smooth it until they both lie flat, but they're never gonna lie flat because there's physics involved. So I'm not sure, like, even if I pulled this down, it wouldn't lie flat. So that's very confusing to me. So what I'm gonna do now is go ahead and like pin this in place, and then I will baste it in place and just sort of like check that everything's cool. Then you have to do a thing where you iron down that curve to slice it down the middle, which is terrifying because it's not like a seam or anything, it's just like in the middle of the fabric. And I'm like, that sounds structurally unsound, so I'm going to figure out some way of like bar tacking that or something. And then you applique stitch this together. It does show it like folded down all the way to the edge. So, because this guy's on the outside, so if you see that much, that's what's happening. And I can see, I don't know if you guys can see, but I can see like, I can see that lining and the edge that sticks out of the fashion fabric, and then this, so it is matching. Whew, okay. I don't really know how that works when it's basted, because the basting will hold it higher than that. Okay, so this is all basted in. I realized I did not do what I said I was gonna do and zigzag this. I don't know, I might try to zigzag it. I think I probably could. I am also understanding already, just based on a simple try on, that I have like kind of regret about not changing this curve. I think this is high and it's really severe, and I would think, based on looking at other Italian gowns, that I would want this to actually like come down more like a gentle curve and then also carry down lower. So I will probably change this part of the pattern when I make the final gown, because I can already tell based on a try-on that I don't love that. The try-on is kind of hard because it's over this pleating, and these are like locked in right now, and it will fall differently once these are released. So there's that. I am going to wait to do my final stitch on of this part, because I do want to hear back from them on whether or not we are supposed to have some like level of seam allowance essentially, or if this is supposed to be exactly butted up to this line. It looks like that, but then they're telling you in the instructions to baste it and then flip this over and press this down along this edge, and I'm like, that doesn't make sense because it's basted on. The basting will automatically not let it do that. So, because like obviously even if I pull this down, I can't see the fashion fabric edge like you can say right here, and that is shown in the picture. So I don't understand what I'm supposed to do here. So I'm waiting for a response on that. Meanwhile, I think I'm going to construct the sleeves so that they are built and ready to go. I have a slightly quicker way of doing it, like one less step that Abby taught me. I did it in a video for the Amalia jacket. I think I was in Reno at Abby's house when she lived in Reno when she taught me how to do it. So I think I'm going to try that trick again, which is like stacking them all essentially on top of each other and just doing one seam and then flipping it inside out, which is great if you can get it to work. So it's something I'm gonna give a whirl and we're gonna see if it goes well. Okay, so I did one and it totally works. So the method is, for a two-piece sleeve, is small outer, big lining, small lining. And you put these together in a little bundle and you pin them together. First you take off the seam allowance at the cuff because you're gonna fold these cuffs up. And you pin these together and then you sew them and then you pull them through at the outer fabric layer and they make a sleeve for you, and all of the seams are on the inside, as you can see there. So I do need to press this guy and like straighten it out and then do the cuffs still. You can do this by hand or you can do this by machine. It doesn't really matter which way you want to do it, but it'll work either way. I'm going to reverse this back out so I can do a little bit of pressing and also clip the seam allowances a little bit so they lay better. Okay, so cuffs are done. I have hand stitched down the cuffs on that. The sleeves are ready to be installed. So now I am just waiting on the answer about how exactly that gets connected. I can just connect it and it will be whatever it will be, and then I will press it down after. So if I don't hear back from them by tomorrow, I will go ahead and do that. So that's where we're at right now. Okay, it's the next day. I have not heard back yet from Les Momies, but I consulted Constance and Abby and Nicole and Kate and gotten a variety of different answers, all of which are very similar, which is go ahead and stitch it on and then fold it down, like take the basting out and fold it down so that they are essentially almost edge to edge stitched on here. So that is something I'm gonna do. There are interpretations of these instructions that do make sense for that, and I get it. I just think like I didn't understand how that was working because there was two pressing situations and I just wouldn't do the second one. Anyway, also my back point is super high and everyone's like, oh, when you release the pleats it will get better, but yeah, that is really high. So I should have lengthened the back point. I cannot do it now. I don't have enough fabric to do it. Nicole's telling me that this is possibly too high. Anyway, like the whole back is too high, so there might be a way to fix this using the straps and like change the straps out and like make them longer. I don't know how much extra fabric I have for that because I have almost none, but I'm gonna check. I'm not gonna worry about that right now. I'm gonna get the skirt on and stitched down so that it can be like that part of it can be done and I can check out what it actually looks like once you like release the pleats and do all that kind of stuff. So I'm going to work on that for right now. You can probably see there are tiny little applique stitches all along here. This does feel very secure on here. I'm also going through, it's not on this side, is it on the other side? No, it's on this side. You're never going to be able to see this. Oh, maybe you can. There's a row of stitches right here, which is about an inch below where this attaches, which is here. And these stitches are kind of holding the pleats in place so that you get a little bit extra of like exactly the pleats before they start spreading out. So I have been sewing on this for 2 weeks though. We agreed I wasn't going to do that. We said I'm going to do weekly vlogs and not project vlogs. And I'm at the point where I'm trying to make a project vlog and it's probably not working. So kind of what I've decided to do, I was mentioning earlier that I was going to try to make, not in this vlog, of course, I'm just referring to other things that you may or may not have seen in my previous video, the one that I just posted about my goals for the year. I said that I also was going to mess around with like shorter form content, so like not shorts, but like not hour-long videos either. So what I think I'm going to do is I'm just going to do weekly vlogs. I'm going to try to get them up each week, which I've already messed up in January. And then I'm going to do the shorter vlogs. They're not really vlogs. They're like build diaries, how to make this dress, etc., etc. I'm going to do a shorter form video that is just the highlights of what's happening, probably with a voiceover where I just talk you through how stuff gets made and whatever. I am going to use those to give you like a full project in like a dress diary or whatever you want to call that kind of video. Anyway, so essentially I get to make both kinds of videos, maybe? We'll see. I don't know if I'm going to do one for this. I don't know if the footage that I have gotten is good enough for that, so we're going to see. It's kind of a mental shift to have to try to figure out how to film 2 different kinds of videos at the same time, so I'll look at the footage though and check it out. Meanwhile, I'm going to stop this vlog is what I'm getting to. There will be a part 2 of making this dress. Many of you enjoy weekly vlogs, so we're just going to keep that going. I'm very sorry that it stopped so close to the end, but it's really not, right? Because I gotta attach sleeves, I gotta do the hem, I need to finish the stabilization, I need to cut out and release all the pleats and style it. I need to do the strap situation and see if that's even gonna work. It might not be a thing. I might just have a weird dress with a really high rump. Like, I don't know what's gonna happen yet, so that'll take some time to explore also. So meanwhile, that's what the plan is, to put all that in there, and then also you'll get like, I'll try to do like a final reveal video where I show you like, you know, what the dress looks like on me in my stays with maybe a cute hat on, we'll see. Anyway, if you enjoyed this vlog, give it a thumbs up. Let me know what you think about my plan to film weekly vlogs and then make shorter form content with a voiceover that's just like the whole dress kind of situation. Hopefully that is something that's of interest to you. A lot of people said that they like the long form content, so I'm gonna give you the long form content, of course. I'm just also going to give you those shorter form vlogs for people who want to like just go back and review, for people who want a different kind of content from me. So there's probably gonna be a lot less of those than there are long form content vlogs because I'm real into that. Anyway, I hope you guys had a good week. As always, leave me notes. Let me know in the comments what you're up to, what you're watching, how your January was, how's it going. February is almost here already, like this is fast. Like I said, will be at Disneyland this weekend, which I'm very excited. I'm going with my 8-year-old buddy. For people who don't know, my 2 besties both had kids like 2 weeks apart from each other. So I have 2 8-year-olds in my life that I am auntie to, and I'm going to Disneyland with one of them, and I love nothing more than hanging out with the 8-year-olds because they're super fun, and also we're kind of on the same mental wavelength a lot of times. So it should be fun. I'm very much looking forward to it, and I will catch you guys when I get back with the second half of this vlog. So if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed, please do so. That helps me so much. Also, comments help, thumbs up helps, all the things help. Any kind of interaction helps get more viewers looking at my videos. So if you're into it, do that thing. All right, I will see you guys later, and I hope you guys have a great week. Bye, guys.